Imagine a world without light, not a solar eclipse, but an eternal night. A darkness born not from cosmology, but from a goddess's grief. This is the story of Amaterasu, the Japanese goddess of the sun, who, in a moment of terror and sorrow, locked herself away from the universe. The heavens and the earth froze, evil spirits swarmed, and the gods themselves fell into despair. This is the myth of how laughter, cleverness, and a scandalous dance saved the world. Subscribe to Teduent, where we explore the myths that shaped civilizations. Today, Amaterasu and the Heavenly Rock Cave, the story of a divine family feud that nearly ended the world. In Shinto, the native faith of Japan, the world is filled with millions of gods, or kami. At the pinnacle of the heavenly court were three siblings, born when the creator god Izanagi washed the filth of the underworld from his face. From his left eye, Amaterasu Omikami, the glorious goddess of the sun. From his right eye, Tsukuyomi, the serene god of the moon. And from his nose, the most troublesome of all, Susanoo no Mikoto, the powerful and tempestuous god of storms and the sea. While Amaterasu ruled the high plane of heaven, Susanoo was given domain over the seas. But he refused his duty, instead weeping and raging until his beard grew long, causing mountains to wither and rivers to dry up. He wanted to visit his mother, Izanami, in the underworld. For this divine tantrum, his father banished him. Before leaving, Susanoo declared he must say goodbye to his sister, Amaterasu, and ascended to heaven. Amaterasu, suspicious of her brother's intentions, met him dressed as a warrior. After a contest to prove his sincerity, Susanoo erupted in a jealous rage. He unleashed a campaign of celestial vandalism. He destroyed the carefully laid divisions of his sister's sacred rice paddies, filled in her irrigation ditches, and in an act of ultimate desecration, defiled her sacred hall, where she tasted the first rice of the harvest. Heaven itself trembled at his destructive glee. Amaterasu, though angered, initially forgave her brother's behavior. But Susanoo's cruelty escalated. While Amaterasu was overseeing her attendance in the sacred weaving hall, Susanoo ripped a hole in the roof. He then threw the bloody, flayed carcass of a heavenly piebald horse through the opening. In the panic and horror, one of Amaterasu's most beloved weaving maidens was struck by a shuttle and died. This was the final straw. Consumed by grief for her attendant and terrified of her brother's uncontrollable rage, Amaterasu fled. She found the Amano-Iwato, the heavenly rock cave, and hid herself deep within its darkness. She then rolled a massive, immovable boulder across the entrance, sealing herself away from the world. The source of all light and life in the universe had vanished. Instantly, the high plane of heaven and the central land of reed plains, the earth, were plunged into eternal night. The world grew cold, crops failed, and evil kami, malevolent spirits and demons, emerged from the shadows to plague the world. The laughter of the gods ceased, replaced by a cacophony of wicked voices and the sounds of chaos. The universe was dying. In desperation, the 8 million kami of heaven gathered by the banks of the celestial river, Amano-Iwato. They convened a divine council to devise a plan. They knew they couldn't force the cave open. They had to trick Amaterasu into coming out on her own accord. Omoikon, the god of wisdom and ingenuity, formulated a clever, multi-stage plan that relied not on force, but on divine psychology. The gods set to work. The blacksmith Kami, Amatsumara, and the mirror-making goddess Ishikorodome forged the Yata no Kagami, a perfect 8-sided bronze mirror. The divine jewel crafter created the Yasakani no Magatama, a string of 500 beautiful, curved jewel beads. These were not just trinkets, they were objects of immense spiritual power, designed to capture the attention of the hidden goddess. The gods decorated a sacred tree outside the cave with the mirror and jewels. They gathered long crowing roosters to signal a false dawn. Then the goddess of the dawn and revelry, Ame-no-Uzume, took center stage. She overturned a sake tub, jumped on top, and began to dance. With divine fire in her eyes, she stamped her feet, causing the tub to boom like a drum. It was a wild, strange, and shamanistic performance. Ame-no-Uzume's dance grew more and more frenzied. Finally, in a moment of comedic ecstasy, she began to disrobe, exposing herself to the assembled deities. The sight was so unexpected and so ridiculous that the solemn, despairing gods could not contain themselves. A chuckle began, then a wave of guffaws, until all 8 million gods erupted into a single, thunderous, uproarious peal of laughter that shook the very foundations of heaven. Inside the rock cave, Amaterasu heard the thunderous laughter. She was perplexed. "I have deprived the world of light," she thought. "It should be a place of weeping. Why do the gods sound so joyful?" Her divine curiosity got the better of her. She pushed the great stone boulder aside just enough to peek out, her face framed in the darkness of the cave entrance. Amano-Uzume saw her and immediately shouted, "We rejoice because there is a goddess more illustrious and beautiful than you." As she spoke, another god held up the perfect bronze mirror. Amaterasu, who had never before seen her own reflection, was captivated. She saw a being of immense light and beauty, and, wanting to see this magnificent rival more clearly, she unconsciously stepped out of the cave. With light returned, Susanoo was punished and banished, but the legacy of this event shaped Japan forever. The mirror, the jewels, and the sword Susanoo later retrieved from a serpent became the 3 imperial regalia, the sacred treasures of Japan's emperors passed down through generations. The East Grand Shrine, the most sacred site in Shinto, was built to house the mirror and honor Amaterasu. And to this day, sacred Kagura dances are performed across Japan, reenacting Ame-no-Uzume's performance that brought light back to the world. Subscribe to Teduent. The myth of Amaterasu is more than a story about the sun. It's a timeless lesson that when faced with overwhelming darkness and despair, the greatest weapons we have are community, ingenuity, and the irresistible, world-shaking power of laughter.